Welcome to the Brady Bunch of Autism, your source for family, parenting, and all things autism and special needs. Created by our family for your family. Live from the Ed Asner Family Center. And now your hosts, Navah and Matt Asner.
Hey.
Welcome back, everyone. We've been gone for quite a spell.
It's been a spell. Well, we had Ned Talk.
We did have an Ed Talk, and I have been crazy camp prep for the last 2 weeks.
And you started camp yesterday.
Yes.
How exciting.
It was incredible.
It's that time of year, folks.
It is. I mean, Camp Ed is my baby. I don't know how else to say it. It's something that was born out of my frustration as a special needs mom who would send her kids to ESY. And to me, ESY was really lacking in the kind of camp experience that I grew up with. I mean, we can't do surfing in the valley,
right?
But at least we can do the kind of uplifting and kind of spiritual uplifting things that expressive arts can bring to special needs kids. And so yesterday was our seventh. What am I talking about? Our seventh edition of Camp Ed. And I couldn't have been more proud. We have this incredible combination, the magic combination of music therapist Judy Langdon and our favorite person in the world, art director Aviva Paskowitz. And the two of them together they're like two Disney princesses. They're just incredible. It's nice. Are you Borat?
No, it's really nice.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, yesterday,
the kids all seem to be having a great time.
It was
wonderful.
Incredible.
And I'll tell you something. It's wonderful to see such life in our hallways here at the.
I was just going to say that was
to see.
I got
kids.
Emotional yesterday.
No,
I did.
Thing.
I mean, there was so much energy and happiness and laughter in the room, and my only sadness, if I can call it sadness, is that we sold out. We went to capacity in 2 weeks, and there were so many families who really want to experience this, and God willing, I hope we can expand and create overnight camps, which is my next.
That's next on the list.
That's the next thing I'm going to bug you about.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we had quite a day the other day. We actually took a day off and went to San Onofre, which is Navah's second home.
It is. I learned how to surf there. I learned how to surf there when I was 3 years old. And because of the lockdown and our crazy life and existence and kids, I haven't surfed for the longest duration of my entire adult life. And it was 15 months since I've stood up on a board, and I was terrified I wouldn't be able to do it. And I was just so proud of myself.
You were like a superwoman out there.
I cannot believe it. It's like all my aches and pains, arthritis, all this
super
shit.
Navah out there. And in contrast, I was not like Superman.
Well, you're a landlubber. God love you.
I love water. But
But water doesn't love you.
No, I love water, but the problem I had was not the water, it was the rocks.
Yes.
It was the rocks on the beach.
Rocks
on the beach.
It was super low tide.
See, right, little boo-boos.
Too bad you couldn't show the big one.
Yeah, no, that would have to.
Yeah, Matt looked like he had a fight with Hawaiian coral, and we were nowhere near that, but he got really banged up.
But I found it.
Yeah.
If it's there to be found, I'll find it.
Yes.
But no, we had a great time, and now I'm licking my wounds. But you were pretty impressive out there, I gotta say.
Well, I have to do it more often. That's the main thing, because it just makes me so happy. It's my favorite thing to do in the whole entire world, and I have to find the time. Like I tell all of my special needs moms and dads, find the time for self-care, for something that you love and uplifts you and fills your tank for the week. And I have to find time for myself. It's very difficult with everything I need to do and all that is required of me.
Yes, all that
you ask of me, Matt Asner.
Put you through.
Yes.
So we were going to have our new
our stand-in.
Pop culture.
Hannah Schindler is the stand-in for our social director, Chelsea Darnell.
But our stand-in is not standing in.
Our stand-in stood us up.
So we're gonna actually talk a little bit about what do you want to talk about? What's on your agenda here? What pop culture thing should we talk about
culture
to fill our pop culture moment?
Oh man. Well, you and I have. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about that great series we've been watching on Netflix. That was really fun. I mean, anything scary, I love, and this show is really fun. It comes in like 3 segments. It's called Fear Street, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's and there's the next one's coming on next week.
Yeah,
later on
we've really enjoyed it. It's not for kids. It has kind of like
it's very violent.
I don't know. I was going to compare it to a little bit like
it's like a slasher.
What was the show with Bobby Brown?
Oh, like Stranger Things.
It's a little bit Stranger Things in the way that it's kind of presented, but it's not for teens or any. Definitely, I would say 15 and over. It's very gory.
But I thought the other thing that we watched was really good. There's an Icelandic show.
I loved that show.
Called Katla.
Yeah,
it's called
Iceland,
and that was amazing. That was a really amazing show. So,
do you want to answer that question, or should I answer that question?
You answer that question.
Okay. Well, the Brady Bunch of Autism, is it Zafad?
It's
I can't
Zafad.
read it. Zafad. Okay. The Brady Bunch of Autism was kind of born out of the fact that when Matt and I met, we both had autistic children. I had 4 children, 2 of which were autistic. Matt had 2 sons, 1 of which is autistic. So like the Brady Bunch, we were a blended family. And that was a name that I think Joanne Laura kind of first said and coined us as the Brady Bunch of Autism. And it stuck and we love it. And we have kind of ran with it because it's cute.
Yeah. And that's your answer.
And we have 6 kids now together.
It's quite all right.
Yes.
So okay, we have an incredible. Our guests today are incredible. We're going to talk today with Cathy Gott and Mark Altieri about. See, I got it right, Mark. About self-determination. This is a new term that is coming in. A lot of people don't know what it is. We're going to learn what it is. We're going to learn how you can take advantage of it, how you can, get it for yourselves.
And be prepared for it, because you and I have been hearing about it for some time from our friend Judy Mark.
Yep.
And we like so many different parents we're so overwhelmed on a daily basis. We're really at capacity with what we can do and create. And for us, it's just like we start thinking about it and then life hits us. And so we're in the boat with everyone else where we need to figure this out for our own children, and it's overwhelming. So
here's the opportunity. We're gonna have Cathy and Mark on, and we're gonna take your questions because we are live. So any questions you have on self-determination, bring them this way on our comments, and we will ask them for you. And we have a lot of questions ourselves. So without further ado, let's bring our guests in. Let's bring Cathy Gott and Mark Altieri in. Hello, guys.
Hello,
how are you?
Cathy and Mark.
Hello. How are you both?
We're good.
Thank you for joining us.
So this is a term that we've heard a lot of. It's always been this kind of over there term that we haven't really been able to access. But everyone's heard the term self-determination, certainly in Los Angeles. So why don't we start by, Mark, why don't you explain what self-determination is and why it matters to us?
Can I say
something I'm sorry.
About why it's so special that Mark is with us? I'm Cathy.
Yes, please.
Hello. And I'm a mom. I'm in that same boat with Navah and Matt, and with my husband Jim and I. So parents overwhelmed, but our son did transition to the self-determination program on July 1st, and we'll get into that later. But Mark is with a large company, a national company that provides a lot of services, but one of the things that their company does is financial management services. And if a family, or when a family transitions into this particular service delivery system, it's still regional center, it's still the same funding from DDS, it's just a different way to deliver services. Everyone has to have an FMS, which is kind of the third party payer that So money's coming in, money's coming out. It's all being managed by an FMS. So Mark's
And FMS stands for
Financial Management Services.
okay.
And
So
so the parent can't be the FMS?
no, absolutely not.
Aha, see, there you go. We already learned something.
Yeah, that the government in any situation similar to IHSS, they're not just going to hand. There's a
right, because there's probably a lot of abuse with parents.
It could be. I get it's just for financial it's taxpayer dollars. It needs to be handled responsibly. So that's one of the things that needs to be in place. So Mark's company is the largest in the country. Some say the best. And they're new to California in this particular space. So Mark is fairly new, but getting to be quite well known across the state in this early stages of the rollout of self-determination. And what Mark brings, why it's so special to have him, is the national perspective. And when we talk in California, where some people are like, what is it? And, it's not good. Like it's like, sorry, it's already happening in all 50 states. And I'm not going to say anymore, but Mark is the senior director of that company and just a good friend. I've learned so much from Mark, and later we're going to share with you a network that Mark's company created for all of us to find people to help us and find service providers. And it's really fabulous what he brings to California. So with that, I wanted to properly introduce my friend Mark.
Well, that was a good introduction. Mark, welcome.
Yeah, she is too kind. Thank you both so much. And thank you, Cathy, for that intro. I've been doing this field of financial management services in self-determination programs for 13 years now around the country. Oh, wow. And so it's not new, and it's not new to California, really. I love to give California their shout out. This in concept was founded on the Berkeley campus by Ed Roberts and a group of other Berkeley students who back in the 60s basically said, nothing for us without us. We want equal access. And it started with education, and they led the charge to one of the greatest pieces of legislation the country's ever passed, which is the American with Disabilities Act. And that started on the Berkeley campus. Cathy made reference to California's great IHSS program. It serves about 650,000 people. And I would say it's self-determination light. You get some choice and some control over who's going to be hired to provide some care. But just to give you a point of reference, I think your next closest competitor in that realm is probably New York. They're probably around 70,000 people. Again, you're at 650,000. And so the self-determination program, true, a pilot for 20 years. True, it's been being phased in for the last 3 years and is now available to most any individual served through one of the 21 regional centers in California. And it's not a model that I want to give people assurance. This isn't a flash in the pan type of service delivery model. Like Cathy said, these models that give self-advocates, individuals, and their families more, it really boils down to giving more choice and control over services and supports that they receive, and like all the rest of us would expect in life, right? It would be a foreign concept. And Cathy's had personal experience. You guys have. My son has some medical conditions that required services like occupational therapy, speech therapy. And honestly, guys, sometimes it wasn't working out. Like we just weren't jiving on a personality level. But I had no choice to pick another occupational therapist, another service provider. This model gives the self-advocates maximum choice and control over their services and who provides those supports.
And I want to add in the California speak to that is that when you're choosing who's going to provide services for you and you're in the self-determination program, you don't have to choose an agency that is vendored with the regional center.
Right.
You can. That could be certainly a choice. But that is enormous. And when
everything.
Think about, really thinking creatively and very person-centered about what our loved ones dream about, want in their lives. You go through this incredible person-centered planning process that is really in depth. And there are some wonderful independent facilitators out there. We're going to need more and more as this role. I mean, that's the only thing. It's just starting. So it's a great field for people actually to go into if they're suited for that kind of work to help a family transition. And so we get to hire people. It has nothing to do with being a vendor or not. Of course, that can't be a criminal. I mean, there's certain requirements to be onboarded as an employee and serving your loved one. But if I think about people who need personal care, like really help with a shower. I mean, why hire a stranger when your cousin or your aunt or the neighbor that you've grown up with or the teacher's aide that wants to keep working with your family, people you already know and trust or who come into your lives? That's the kind of, I get chills because it's been frustrating. I don't know about you guys, but for us with any of the frontline workers, by the time you get to the agency, the people who are serving our kids are getting minimum wage or tiny bit over that.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous.
The quality is not there.
So and you're retraining staff, and just when your kid gets comfortable with somebody, then somebody else, and it's really not the fault of the agency. It's such a shortage of funding and limited resources. I mean, that's how we have been valued, our families, our loved ones. That's what's shifting with all the new laws and regulations. That is what's shifting. It's really gorgeous.
Well, and I mean, I see this both as a parent and also we also see this as a service provider, because we provide services that traditionally have not been included in vendoring.
Right.
So arts programs and stuff like that,
which is so criminal because you see, especially with some of our clients that need more support, the effects of music and art therapy is so dramatic, but yet none of these services were covered. I mean, not all of them were. I mean, horse therapy, all of these things that kids actually want to do, and you see the difference after they start this kind of therapies, and parents couldn't afford it. It would all be out of pocket expenses.
Well, this is there's so many changes I could touch on, but for me as a vendor and a mom, and just also like the freedom to be able to pick and choose, and again, you still have your IPP every year with your service coordinator, and you go over the goals and objectives.
Right.
And it's all very reasonably done, but it's completely out of it's not them telling you, okay, well, here's what you have to choose from, or here's what we have to offer.
Right.
That is
more likely we don't have that to offer.
Right. So it is really exciting. So, I mean, we just want to share this with everyone that we can and help. And I'll later on, and I'll give you some resources to share where we have some conferences coming up, some training sessions, and all kinds of things that we offer that families can learn more about self-determination.
That's great.
Well, I'd be interested into, if I was just a layperson, which I am, Mark, because both Matt and I, we have two kids that we've signed up for self-determination, but we are on step 1. So does your service then provide take some of the weight of some of these like overwhelming procedures and paperwork, and I mean, it's just overwhelming to me what we have to go through in order to get the actual funding.
I think what might be best is to start at the beginning. So let's say we have families out there who are watching.
Yeah.
How
Sure.
do they take advantage of this, and what are the steps they need to do to take advantage of this?
Yeah, sure. And I love that you're saying take advantage of it. Like it's actually a misnomer to call it the self-determination program. It's really not a program. This is giving everyone the opportunity to take control of that individual budget that is re-upped each year at the region. I get control of it. I have the choice and control over it. And so the first step, communicating to the service coordinator at the regional center, I'm interested in SDP. And the first thing they're going to do is look back at the last 12 months of spending and see what the last 12 months of expenditures are. And then they're going to try to marry that with a person-centered plan, as Cathy talked about. Great to have one. DDS has made funding available to tap to try to get a person-centered plan done, but I'll have my person-centered plan.
That's the independent facilitator, and it's not required, but I cannot, I don't think I would have been able, there's no way I could have done it. So if you are able to get a really good independent facilitator, they will help you through the steps, because listen, I'm not a rocket scientist, and I'm work, and I'm a mom, and I've got a husband, I've got a life, and I made it happen, but it wasn't easy, but so worth it and our Danny just feels so excited and empowered and is. I mean, things have drastically changed in his life since he started July 1. I mean, he turned everything around.
And now does the independent facilitator, are they paid through self-determination?
They're paid through the regional center, pays that fee. It's a $2,500 fee to get a family transition. And there are steps. So
That's what I was just going to ask.
It's not, there's steps. Everybody's required to attend an orientation and they're all available online through every regional center, through state council, through Autism Society. I mean, there's a ton of them that you can take an orientation, and it's very straightforward. And then some regional centers create, like we're with the St. Gabriel Pomona Regional Center, and they had live trainings that you could sign up for, not just, but then you can ask questions, and there's a lot of supplemental information out there that you can get. But you find out what your budget is, and then you do your plan, and your person-centered planner will assemble this circle of support around your loved one and interview them and compile the information and find out what is working in their lives, what's not working in their lives, and then create a pathway of how are we going to get there? Just for this year, you get to redo your goals in a year. So just for this year, I try to take it a year at a time. Otherwise, it is really overwhelming. What are the things more social, like things for Danny were things like becoming more independent with transportation, more comfortable, not depending on his staff for rides, or because access has been challenging because it's so overcrowded. So getting the confidence to do Uber, and so that's one of the goals this year. So his staff is doing Uber with him instead of just driving him somewhere, so that Danny can develop. That's a big goal for him. So things like that.
Awesome.
And then when you then go back and forth with the regional center, and you get your person-centered plan goes in, and then you've looked at your budget, you develop a spending plan of how you're going to spend those funds. And that's the exciting part when you, and so if, again, it's different with every regional center, it's different with every person. There's no one size fits all. I can share my own experience with you. Danny had a pretty big budget because he already had supported living services, which is a pretty expensive service. So our funds stayed the same. They actually went down a little bit. So our budget didn't increase, but I've heard stories of budgets drastically increasing because there are so many families who are not only underserved, unserved, like they have no services. And those are the people I want to help the most. So we have all kinds of resources on our site that I'll share with you, with independent facilitators and coaches who speak multiple languages, and we'll get into more of that. But that's who we want to help the most.
And I'm sure the biggest question, because so many of our families are low-income families, I'm sure the first question is, can this be, can my independent facilitator be funded through the regional center, which you answered? And also, are they going to fight for me? It's almost like you want, if English is your second language and all these services and funding is available, you need somebody who can say, well, you have this opportunity.
It's a great, interesting question you bring up, the role of the independent facilitator.
Right.
And it's tricky because this is a regional center program, and here are some, moms a lot of the times, or professionals or paraprofessionals that, know the system, know what's going on. Maybe they've worked at regional center before, and they're coming in from and so you don't want to come in with this, confrontational,
right.
Attitude. You want to build those bridges and those collaborations. I mean, that's what's been very successful with us, with the regional center that we've been working with, because Education Spectrum's been consulting with them during the pandemic, especially when, it was really hard to get families who wanted to get through, who were a part of that lottery selection during the pandemic and all of the challenges. And the regional centers all obviously were just so busy with just keeping, people alive.
Right, exactly.
But they're not advocates. They're there to teach the families what they're entitled to and how to advocate for themselves, and helping the families understand and empower them. And I know Judy Mark, you mentioned her, and she talks a lot about this. That's what it's about. And that's the intention of it, is to take your power back. And really, and so a good independent facilitator, yes, that knows the law and knows what you're entitled to and isn't unrealistic and, being unreasonable and asking for things that are ridiculous. So right. There's a balance there of here's your goals, here's your objectives. How are we going to get there in a measurable manner so that we can see that your child is progressing? It's not just some, willy-nilly thing that you're enrolling in. It has to make sense and be reasonable. But I mean, we've got a nutritionist on board with Danny, private training. I mean, these are things that is super important for his wellness and his well-being. It's his health and well-being and things like.
I was just going to ask that.
Yes,
for Eddie,
things that you guys provide. I mean, looking at all the incredible things that a self-determining family can write you right into their budget. Yeah. And you obviously charge exactly what you charge for anything else, because that's the fair. You wouldn't adjust it in any way, shape, or form. If somebody's private pay, that's your, or if you were vendored, like we're vendored, whatever our rate of pay for the social skills classes we offer, that is what we now everything's on our website. We used to just put the vendor number. Now we put the price. So and we do have families who, we're in their spending plan for their self-determination budget. So it's awesome.
So what this does is it really opens the world up.
Yes.
It really opens up the world and allows people to seek whatever kind of help they want.
It's far more holistic, right? It's far more holistic point of view. It's so far away from institutional or just this traditional service. It allows you to look at the full person.
Absolutely. And again, I know that this is one of the things that Joanne used to always be so brokenhearted about, is that all of the things that are so wonderfully important to kids, expressive arts, art, dance and theater and art and music, surfing, surf therapy. Yeah. All these things are available again, because most of the time, you have to decide between, feeding your kid or letting them have swim lessons or something.
Cathy, you said that Danny just started on this on July 1st. So would you mind kind of taking our viewers through what you went through to get him there?
Sure.
I think that might be a step-by-step kind of way of getting there, because I'm interested in that myself. So maybe tell the story of.
Well, we need the independent.
Yeah.
We need, I don't even remember.
Tell,
We definitely need
tell
that.
us,
That's our first step.
So tell us, all the steps you took to get Danny where he is now.
Well, I did just that. I was told to call your service coordinator and say that you were interested. So then you get on this list that you're interested. Some at the time, service coordinators, and some people will find this depending on what regional center you're with. Some don't even know, service coordinators don't even know what it is because they're so underfunded and have caseloads of hundreds, over 100 people. I mean, how on earth can these poor service coordinators give you that individualized attention that we so desperately need? So it's a systematic failure. It's not anybody's fault. I really think everybody goes into this field to try to do their very best. It's just, we are lobbying for millions and millions infused into our system, which we so badly need. And I'm hopeful now. I have a lot of hope. But in the meantime, we requested our budget. So I knew how much we had in the budget for Danny. And as I said, it's pretty significant because he's getting a lot of services. And then some people ask, well, should we start requesting all these services now so that our budget, and it's like, no, it's not necessary. Because this is really authentic and it's really about what you're getting, what you need to help you get to where you want to be with your goals and objectives for the next 12 months. That's so it doesn't matter. Budgets can change dramatically because it's really done well. So the independent facilitator really helps you through and working with the service coordinator and their supervisor, teaching you about and giving you ideas. I mean, that was my experience. Julie LaRose is our independent facilitator, and she's actually I know you know her. She knows you. Yeah, she's stayed on, and she's in our spending plan as an advisor a month. I mean, I have always been operating with a circle of support around Danny. I was taught that, thank God, from, Kathy Holland and the people at Education. You got to have a team around you. So we've always had a team. So that's nothing new for us to learn to work within a team, but it's so important. And I spend a lot of that money on like oversight training of the staff and the team to get Danny's job coach and supports at home, all on the same page, so that when we're addressing a challenging behavior or coming for a bump in the road or good things and what works, we all come together and meet every month. And in the meantime, there's sessions going on with troubleshooting, and we're all reinforcing the same positive behaviors and things of that nature, kind of like what we had in good school districts with a good team around us. We have to create that for ourselves, really, and keep the circle tight and communicative. Mm-hmm. So the independent facilitator started with the person-centered plan. Took the longest. It was in pretty terrific interviews with Danny chose who he wants to support him, and it really was who he wants to. It doesn't matter if it's what I want for him. This is what he wants, and these are his goals in life and what he wants in life, so it was really authentic and beautifully done. Then the plan was submitted to regional center, and we got an FMS in place. Mark's company doesn't do the model that we required. There's that's details that we can get into at another time, but there's different ways of co-employing your own staff. It depends on how much work you want to do, how much control you want, but there's a lot of models available. And then it was like, thank God Julie knows what she's doing, because she really took me through and looking at there's a whole different set of service codes and putting in place what we need in the budget every day with a schedule of who's going to support Danny, how much are they going to get paid. And the great thing, and this is very funny that Danny did, he gets this one of the circle meetings before we actually started. He gets everybody together and he said, I got good news and I got bad news. I'm going to give you the bad news first. You're all fired, because everybody worked for an agency, right? Getting, not very much pay. And then he said, the good news is as of July 1, you're rehired and you're all getting raises.
Oh, wow.
Because you're so much of our funding goes toward the levels of management at these agencies that they, all the compliance issues, especially something like supported living or residential, all these types of supports, there is so much regulation that by the time, again, it gets down to that person who's delivering the service, there's not much left. So that's really, I don't know that if I'm really missing anything, but that's kind of the process. And you set up, you have and Julie did it, here's when we're going to do this first. We're going to do that because I work backwards. I know what I want, but she moved me forward and kept me on track. And again, there's so much information out there. It really isn't complicated. It's not.
Yeah.
And
well,
now
she mentioned to me at some point, and to be able to work with her would make life much easier because we know her. She's one of our center moms in our support group. But to me, every time she'd mention it, I'd say, okay, I'm going to do that. I'll get back to you. And that's the first step. But as a team, we have been.
Well, the first step is letting your.
No, I was going to say that we have been a few of our clients' person-centered plan. The center has
on
been,
their team.
we've been asked to join a couple of these meetings, and it is, like you say, it's beautiful. It's very authentic. It's very much about the particular child or I call everyone child, but teen or adult that we're talking about. And it's really their opportunity to say, finally, I've been doing this for this many years, but actually I want to do drum lessons or whatever it is that he really is inspired by.
And I was actually struck. I agree with you. I was amazed by how loving the whole process was and supportive. And I had never witnessed that before in an IPP.
It's really gorgeous. I feel like I'm going to cry. I don't want to cry, but Julie is just such a loving person. And I find that independent facilitators with whom I've had interaction through St. Gabe Pomona Regional Center, Tamara Polly and Elizabeth Cuevas and Connie Sun. We're all moms. So a lot of moms go into this and we really understand it, or it's a professional, again, who really gets it. And you can, I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to run out of time, but I think I want to tell you something about, I want to tell you something that Mark's, I don't know if you have the capability of putting URLs or putting it in the chat.
Well, that's what I wanted to say, because I know you guys have created a website, so I want to put the website up. And I want you guys to talk about the website a little bit. And then I've got one closing question for Mark, which we can wrap up with. But let's talk about the website. What's the website? What is the URL?
It's the CA for California, sdpnetwork.org. Can you actually make it come up on the screen, or are you just putting it in the?
I can make it come up anywhere.
It's good to be a filmmaker doing these shows. You really know what you're doing. But this is
sometimes.
Here it comes.
Don't give him a bigger head. Don't give him a bigger head than he already has.
There it is.
There you go.
Nice. See, I can do it.
So Mark, tell them what it is and how cool it is.
Yeah, so you've used the word overwhelming a few times, right? And it is, and it can be. Right. And you get this approved budget, and all of a sudden you two have control of the budget, or the individual does. And then it's self-determination. Okay, go forth and find the services and providers. Well, the what's next question is where do I find, where do I get some new ideas? Where might I find the equestrian therapist I'm looking for. And in fact, do I only have one to choose from, or are there a few out there? And so right now, regional centers may have lists of providers, but they're probably just the vendor providers that they've always had. And then with this new role, independent facilitators, they don't really have anywhere to have a centralized website or any place where an individual, a family can go and actually look for available independent facilitators where may speak the same language I speak, may have the same background that I have. Maybe, again, service providers that I never thought were possible before, equestrian therapist, petting zoos. There's nowhere to go today, but now there is, right? So now the CASDP network is like a directory, a Yelp-like directory where you go and you find an independent facilitator, and you can search on cerebral palsy. And right now we have a mom who's got a ton of expertise in cerebral palsy, and she's an independent facilitator. Maybe I want coaching skills, so I can go to the service provider section and just put in a search. I just want coaching skills. And you'll have a place like the wonderful Ed Spectrum pop up, and 10 other service providers that also provide those. And just to look at it, we're getting there. We cracked 100 today between independent facilitators and service providers registered. So you got a big piece of what Cathy, I think, has just been so incredibly wonderful and powerful in doing publicly, is talking about incremental steps forward that are measurable. She's already talked about it a few times on this call. And there's no silver bullet to make SDP super easy. Everybody's in it overnight. But if we each try to take some meaningful measures to make it easier for everyone, then we'll all get there. And this is a major step forward of just a consolidated repository that's searchable for self-advocates and families looking for an independent facilitator or a service provider. And Cathy and I give her a ton of credit, has just been leading the charge to get that site populated, and it will just get more powerful for the families and the folks around California, the more service providers and independent facilitators we get registered.
I want to be clear, when we say service providers, this could be a florist on your, or like an art school, a regular, typically, a gymnastics school that is willing to take our people and enroll them. And a lot of our kids or adults come with support staff, and they can say, you can come with support. Put that on the directory. You could change someone's life if you're, just come and volunteer at our florist shop if that's your dream, that you love flowers and loved. It could be anyone who. That
would be Will.
Yeah. So if you're a service provider and you're watching right now, or you see this on YouTube later or Facebook later, how you just
I was going to say, how do we get the center up there?
Super. Well, I put them on there.
Okay, good.
Liberty.
I love you.
But how does a service provider gain access?
Get onto this wonderful platform.
Yeah,
it's a resource platform.
You just type in that URL, and then it says sign up as a facilitator, sign up as a service provider, and then families, you go in as a family, and then you can search for either. And the cool thing about it is it's not like we had to put in like keywords to search for. Whatever language you put in there, and if you provide blah, blah, and blah, 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 and blah, is going to come up when that family's searching for it. So I just cut and pasted right from your website into that description box. So it's a lot of things are searchable for your site. I tried to make it as comprehensive as I could, but you can go in and change it.
Awesome.
How awesome. Wonderful. How wonderful.
Well, this is great. And
if Jules LaRose is watching, I'm definitely going to call you.
Yeah. and so, well, Cathy and Mark, thank you so much for joining us. Mark, I've got one question for you, because this is something that I've been meaning to ask the entire show. So I have only heard of self-determination in California. I've only heard it referred to California. So now you're telling me that New York has instituted it many years ago, I guess. But who else has the self-determination program? I mean, who else? What other states have this?
Yeah, so all 50
Really?
Oh my
states
God.
have some form of the self-determination program. I am now biased at this point and think California's model is best model, but they all have a version of self-determination. And in fact, the Veterans Health Administration has a small option for veterans. But Cathy and I keep talking about it because it's tried and true. It works. It's proven successful all around the country, including your state through the IHSS program. And there are some services in California today, like respite, under what's called the Participant Directed Services Program. But I would say that's self-direction light. SDP is full throttle, as good as it gets. Cathy alluded to a few different models within SDP, so there's a flavor for everybody in there. And yeah, this isn't going anywhere. It's been around for over 20 years now, and in far fewer years than that, SDP will be the largest self-directed program under the developmental disabilities umbrella in the country. I would bet anything on it. Anything.
Well, God willing. And
Well-
I think Cathy said it perfectly in the beginning. There are so many families that could benefit from this who are really, I mean, I know families that are going bankrupt to allow their children to have the enrichments that they know, and they see the difference when they are having these enrichments, and they don't know about this. So every time we talk about it, every time you guys talk about it, you're helping more families. And thank you guys so much.
Let
Well,
us know
I just-
if you want us to do more work directly with families that you serve and help direct people and provide additional resources and a multitude of languages. Just, we're not going anywhere. Just mom to mom, Navah, right here. You know.
I
right?
will definitely be calling you.
Private. Yeah. Okay.
Well, let me just say that this was, I know for a fact this wasn't easy to get where we are now in California, and it was a lot of people working really hard and fighting for the rights of these individuals, and you guys have done an amazing job. I know there are a lot of people that deserve a lot of credit, and they're all heroes, and I thank you both for joining us, and look forward to talking about this again on another show.
Great.
Sure. Thank you both.
And I
so
thank
much.
you for teaching us. I thank you for teaching us, because it's always wonderful to learn something
Oh,
when
yeah.
you do this show. And I learned a lot today. So
I feel like 95% filled in.
Yeah.
That's a
Good.
huge deal.
Good.
Say hi to Danny, my friend Danny, for me.
You got it. All the best.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys,
Mark.
very
Thank you
much.
so much. It was wonderful meeting you.
bye-bye.
Having a-
Wow. That was
It's crazy
one of my favorite shows we've ever done.
how many times I spoke to Jules, who's a center mom, who's been in all of our center moms support groups, and she was telling me, well, because I kept complaining to her that I wanted Eddie to do physical fitness, and she's like, he can do that, and I kept complaining that I couldn't afford it, and she's
Right.
like ready to conk me over the head,
Right.
because Eddie can do these things now.
Yes.
We have so much going on and so much output. And now with this program, we can do the things again that we, Eddie talks nonstop about wanting to ride horses, and nobody's better than Eva Lund and Special Spirit.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be my top.
Well, I think we should actually forge forward and kind of give maybe a little bit of a report here and there on
Yes.
how we're doing.
Definitely.
With it.
And we'll bring Cathy
people
back
understand
when we do part B, that you and I actually follow through.
Exactly.
And we are going to do that. Cathy, hold us to it.
We will do that. So I think that's it for our show.
All right. And next Tuesday, I think I'm actually, Maddie is going to be away, and I'm going to be joined. My special guest is going to be Chris Assad.
I'm away on assignment.
Yeah, he's on assignment. But I have a
On assignment.
special, I have Chrissa who's going to fill in for Matt, but I also have something really exciting to talk about next Tuesday.
We have a lot of things coming up that
We do.
we're not ready to kind of release yet to the general public, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff in August.
It's going to be crazy summer. It's going to be a crazy summer. And we have 5 more weeks of Camp Ed to go to. And, you know, you can live vicariously if your loved one couldn't attend. We're going to really share with you all of the wonderful things that we're doing at Camp Ed. So follow us on our Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. What else am I missing?
That's it.
That's about it.
So Instagram.
I said that.
You said that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Twitter.
Okay.
And that was something.
That was kind of a fun little sound.
What we say after every show is, you know, we'll see you next week.
Yes.
And keep your seatbelt fastened.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.